Hi everyone. Today I will be covering the topic of functions at runtime in JavaScript. I was reading this topic and thought of creating a video so that it adds to my notes which I am handling it on YouTube and my friends also learn from it. Okay, so we will start with functions today. Uh, Let me just see. So functions as first class citizens, contents will be scope creation, closure, and IIFEs like these are immediately invocable functions, summary, and conclusion. I know I have added contents very in a easy fashion manner, but let me cover this topic in a series of videos which we will be seeing in the coming days. Okay. So, what does the meaning of functions as first class citizens? So, we can use functions can be stored in a variable, functions can be passed as an argument, and functions can be returned from other functions. These three scenarios we will be covering. What are functions in itself? Functions is a kind of a piece of code which does a certain kind of execution of commands as per our needs. For example, if we create a function sum of two numbers, so we understand like there is a function with the name of sum. It takes an argument of two numbers and it returns the desired output. So in short, the definition of function is like this. Let me just Google it for you. Okay, function in JavaScript. Okay, NDL. Okay. These are the official documents are one of the fundamental building blocks in JavaScript. A function in JavaScript is similar to a procedure, a set of statements that perform a task or calculate a value. But for a procedure to qualify as a function, it should take some input and return an output, where there is some obvious relationship between input and output. Okay, I have always made it very clear from time to time. MDN is the source of truth. This Mozilla, I have found it very useful, very helpful, and whenever I get lost in between, I generally refer to this before I go for YouTube and all. See, they are showing you an example of functions we will be covering. I'm just trying to explain function definition and function declaration or statements. Okay, like this. Okay, coming back to the functions. Okay, we will cover all these three scenarios here. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so first is the storing of a functions in variables. Let me go back to our VS code. Here I will create now new folder which is object class functions. Object, okay, class function .js. Okay, this will be the folder, and inside this I will just create a new uh, storing storing function in variable .js. Okay, let me improve the brightness. Okay, enter the output. Now here we are. So the syntax of the function, let me just write it here. Okay, function, I will just write greet here. So as per the name, you understood what this function will return a kind of salutation. Okay, here hello world, something like that. Hello, comma. I'm just using a dynamic procedure. Okay, hello name. Okay. Okay, this is a function. Const, I'll say hello. Any language they use like hello world. So we will be creating our first console.log. We will try type greet. We will use say hello. Okay, and we will use world. Now let me save this command. You see hello world. So the topic was storing functions in variable. So we created a function, we stored this function in say hello variable, and that variable we invoked by adding the curly braces and passing the argument. That's how like we store the functions in a variable. Okay, I know this is very basic, very simple piece of code, no brainers, but it helps in building our concepts and the foundation. Okay, next, passing functions as an argument. Okay, this will be good. So let me just write some piece of code snippet, comment it this. Okay, I'll write this function. Okay, execute callback. Okay, and here callback. This is the function name. Callback is a variable here, which will be in itself a function. Okay, let's see. Console.log. Okay, and we are using callback here, and we'll pass pop. I hope you are able to understand what I am trying to do. Let me just write read. Okay, name. One second. Okay, here what you see, let's do. I have created one function. Okay, inside this function I will pass this function as a parameter here. That's what passing function as an argument. Okay, it's just the name we are passing here. Now what is happening inside this callback, it's again using curly braces to do a call, and it will return the pop. Let me save. So hello pop. This is a very beautiful concept, like we can pass functions, complete functions as a parameter to another functions. Okay, just pause for a moment, imagine this, try to create some of the scenarios by yourself and play around. You will be amazed to see like how much helpful these small things are. Okay, now the third one is returning functions from functions. Okay, now this I'll create a, I'll comment this code. I'll again clear the canvas here. Okay, now let me just write some code snippet. Okay, I'm just writing some random function. Okay, so here I'm trying to return a function which itself will return a value. Okay, so I'll just write dollar here, greeting. Okay. Hmm. Now I will just call this function const greeter equals to create greet. Okay, and I passed hi, array hi. Okay. Now console.log, let me just write complete the code, and let me see what happens. Here the function will is declared. Inside this I am passing a variable which is itself a function. Okay, and this is returning what, which is itself a value here. What it is returning, this function is returning a complete function value. Okay, with greeting and the name, both the value. So here create greeter, I am passing hi. Hi goes inside this greeting, and it returned a function here. Function is returned, but to call that function we will have to add the curly braces, and inside that name, greeting hi was already there, and then Charlie got added here. Okay, you see, hi Charlie. So this was like returning functions from a function. This is also a very good concept. Okay. Now scope. Okay. Scope, function scope. So I'll tell you what is a scope. Scope is actually what do you say, a kind of a place where you can identify a variable exist, and once the scope gets finished, that variable existence in the memory gets lost. Okay. So a new scope is created within the functions when, like, inside this function, like there is a scope. Okay. A new block scope is created with let n const. Okay. Let me just first start with function scope. Okay. And I will just write a piece of code so that you understand. Okay. I'll just create a function, example function. Okay. I created a normal function. Okay, here, just right here. Okay, example function here. Now I define a variable. You can var let const, you can do. Okay, function scoped. Okay, let me write I am a function scope. Okay, console.log. I use function scope. Okay, now I call this example function, and it will return me plus. I will just write a console.log there. Okay, function scope. Let me comment this out first and run the command. You see, I'm a function scope. As soon as I this value, so you see I'm getting the error, function scope is not defined. Here it is clearly showcasing. So this variable is understood inside this scope from line 33 to 38. After that, it doesn't know what is present, what is not present, because it is declared and initiated inside this scope. That's what I meant to say. Okay. So now I will showcase you about the block scope. Okay. So let me just put a comment here. Okay. If true, I know I'm doing just a random thing. Let block scope equals I am a block scope. Okay. Console.log. Okay. Let block scope. Okay. So it will run now. Okay, I will comment this and run this block. This is one block. Okay, it's not a function, it's a block piece of code, and it will run as it is. Now if I add uncomment this, then 1 second. Oh, I forgot to add anything value here. Let. Okay. My bad. Okay. So you see, like this is creating a problem. Okay, because it's not defined, right? This is the block scope. Now closures and IIFE. If first I will talk about what is a closure. Okay, so closures is IIFE. Sorry, first IIFE. IIFE is immediately invocable functions. Okay, so what does it says? It says like the functions that are defined, they are immediately invoked. And let me just Google it. Okay, IIFE in GSMD. Okay, and IIFE is an immediately invocable function expression in JavaScript that runs as soon as it is defined. The name IIFE is prompted by Ben Allman in his blog. Okay, So these are the functions like which are defined and immediately invoked. Okay, that's how this is. Let me do closure. CLOS here closure in JS MDN. Okay. So a closure is a combination of a function bundled together, enclosed with references to its surrounding state, the lexical environment. In other words, a closure gives you access to an outer function scope from an inner function. In JavaScript, closures are created every time a function is created, meaning this is the outer function and this is the inner function. Okay, and this inner function you are calling it here. So inside this, like console.long is declared because this name is declared in the parent, so they are saying like we are able to see this. Okay, and if you just like call this function, it will like in it creates a let me read it. In it create a local variable called name. Okay, it creates, and the function called display, the display function in the inner function that is defined inside init and is available only within the body of the init. Okay, so what is saying, the function is defined inside and this name they are inside the init function. Okay, note that the display function has no local variable of its own, so there is no variable inside, okay, of its own. However, since the inner function have access to the variables of the outer function, this is having the access to the outer function variable, so can access the variable declared because this comes inside the bigger scope. Okay, runs the code like this. I'll create a separate video for this, so it will be a shorter one. So I will show you the basic basic closure and using closure closures and IIFEs. Okay, using closure in private example. Okay, so I will start here. Okay, let me think of an example here. I'm just thinking like how what is the best way to explain it. Okay, just give me a minute. Hmm. I let me comment it. Okay, just basic closure. Just function, outer function. Okay, this is a let variable. Don't go by the spelling. I am bad at it. Okay, data function, function. Okay, console dot log private. Okay, now closure equals outer function. Okay, I am just calling the outer function which will return me this function. Okay, and in order to do that I will have to call the closure, just call it. Now since this function doesn't have this private, but it is having the scope, that's how it is in the closure, so it will be able to print. Okay, I am private. This is a very small basic concept of closure. I'm sure you can read a lot here, a lot. Okay, so that's I don't want to go in much detail. I know there are more slides also, if is and all, so I don't want to like give more examples, and I will try to find an easy way to do it. Okay, because it's covering the advanced concepts here at this moment. Okay, guys, this will be a short video for these functions at runtime in JavaScript. I'll cover closure and if we in a separate video in detail. Okay, yeah. So recap of key points. Functions I used in the first class citizens, like function storing in a variable, functions passing as an argument in a function, and functions returning function. Scope creation I explained. Closures and IIFEs, I explained it in a very small fashion. IIFE I didn't. IIFE, IIFE, let's wait for some time because these things they are covering like in depth. So I'll try to cover it in subsequent videos. Okay. Thanks, guys.